Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Thank you once again for joining us. And I should let you know this is the fifth and the final day of our Knowledge Week for Suleiman Dawood School of Business. It basically is a webcast series that we have done for 6 of the graduate programs that we teach at SDSB. My name is Amar bin Salim, and I have the privilege of hosting this today's program. And I should let you know that today's webcast is for Master of Business Administration program, MBA program. But before this, we have covered we are done with the webcast for MS Financial Management, MS Accounting and Analytics, MS Supply Chain and Retail Management, MS Healthcare Management and Innovation, and Executive MBA as well. Again, today we will be talking about our MBA program, and all of the programs that I've talked about, they're basically offered at SDSB, and SDSB is the most prestigious business school in Pakistan with a substantial record of producing corporate leaders, successful managers, and igniting the entrepreneurial spirit as well. In addition, as I always say, SDSB is the first and the sole business institution in Pakistan to have secured the AACSB accreditation. It is a remarkable achievement for any business school in Pakistan to have scored this AACSB accreditation. And this is something that actually clubs us amongst with the top 5% of the world's best business schools. Okay, so today we'll talk about the MBA program, its structure, admission criteria, important dates, and we'll also be including your questions, and we'll try to get their answers by engaging in a conversation with our panelists today. So without further ado, I welcome Dr. Zahoor, Osama, and Fazal. Dr. Zahoor has been associated with LUMS in multiple capacities, including being the university's vice chancellor twice, and at present he's serving at SDSB as a professor. Dr. Fazal Jawad holds a PhD from University of Arkansas, USA, and he teaches courses related to finance at both the undergraduate and graduate level at SDSB. Dr. Osama Yaqub is an assistant professor at SDSB, and he teaches courses related to data sciences, business intelligence, and marketing. So gentlemen, thank you very much for being with us for the benefit of our audience today. And Dr. Zahoor, I'd like to start with you. Could you please introduce the MBA program to our audience and also talk about the way we have structured the program?
Thank you, and welcome to everyone. Although I think I'll mention right in the beginning, although we are talking about the MBA program at the end of this sequence, but MBA program is what the business school stands for. And in many ways, what LUMS stands for, because MBA was the program that LUMS started with, and whatever reputation and credibility that LUMS has in the marketplace to a very large extent depends on the MBA program. So if one wants to have the real LUMS experience, then the MBA program is something to focus on. And let me tell you why I think that's the case. MBA program is a structured 2-year program. And right from the beginning, the philosophy was that we are, the tagline that we used to say, that's a businessman's business school. So it's a program which is very solidly anchored in the context in which we operate. It is an applied program. It prepares you for the real world, whether you want to start your own business, whether you want to work in the local enterprises, or you want to be part of the multinational scene or the technology area. So it has the flexibility there. But at the same time, it doesn't label you as being only suitable to one area. So it gives you that flexibility. So it's a general management program. The degree doesn't say that you are specializing in one area, although you have the option of taking more courses in an area of your own choice. So the first year of the program is structured in such a way that it gives you exposure to all the fundamental areas of business, starting from understanding how people operate, how organizations are structured, the OBHR area. It covers in detail the finance and accounting area, the operations area, and also extensive exposure to marketing, extensive exposure to history of business development, flavor of BI and technology. So all the essential elements in many ways are covered. So this is where you have all the structure of, say, if you're looking at a building, so it gives you the architectural framework. The second year is then giving you an option to add to this, where you can specialize in different areas, you can go into more detail. And of course, there's an option in the second year also for you to study abroad for a term. So we have exchange arrangements, and given the current situation, it probably has not been feasible, but once the COVID thing is over, that option will very much be available for people who probably join this year. The second, another aspect is that between the first and the second year, there's a required sort of internship where you get to apply what you have learned in the first year. You get a first-hand feel of what could be possible options for you as a career. So it gives you an opportunity to explore different career options, as well as get to understand the relevance of what you have been sort of studying. The other key dimension, which is a key, which has been ensured in the program to make it relevant to the industry, is the content and how it is delivered. So we are primarily a case-based program where we use case studies, which are a depiction of a real-life situation. A lot of those cases have been written by our own faculty, which relate to local environment. We use cases from all over the world. So you get to look at real-world situations and try to understand how you can apply your concept that you have learned to address those real issues. The second aspect, which is sort of helps you connect with the real world, is the experiential learning stream that we have. Right in the beginning, the students get the opportunity to focus on a specific sector and then narrow in on an organization to understand how that organization functions and try to work on a project where they get to come up with some ideas, some options which that organization may be able to pursue. And this again sort of anchors the program in the real world. And of course, there are many projects involved in different courses which are there to make sure that the students stay connected. Faculty is encouraged to write cases and also to do research. So the faculty is very much engaged with the real world, and they're always exploring the new areas, the new developments that are taking place. So again, and we have a track record of more than 3 decades in which we have refined this program. We keep on enhancing this program to keep it relevant. So anyway, I'll end here, and if there are any follow-up questions, I'll be happy to take.
There will definitely be, Dr. Zahoor. Thank you so much for such a detailed introduction to our Master of Business Administration program. And as you have rightly mentioned, it is the program that LUMS started with. So moving on, Dr. Osama, I'd like to come to you. We know that you teach at LUMS now, but you used to be a student as well. So I would like to get your input with regards to how it used to be when you were studying at SDSB. What's the student life like? And what can the students who are aspiring to join LUMS SDSB, what should they expect, by the way?
Yes. Well, thank you, Amar. Yeah, and yes, I am. I don't only teach at LUMS, I'm also an MBA from LUMS. I graduated in 2010. And as Dr. Zahoor mentioned, who was also a teacher of mine when I was an MBA student, LUMS MBA is very applied in nature. It's general management. It's focused on a lot of different areas, and it because it's a business school, so it's very applied in nature. Whatever is taught at at the business school. And in terms of my experience as a student, there was the academic pressure, of course, that exists. It's a very tough program. It's very competitive. And the relative grading especially adds a dimension to it, which is something that's not very common in most universities of Pakistan. So one of the first things that I think I'd like to mention here is that as a student, what you'll experience at LUMS is something that you will not experience anywhere in Pakistan. And not just in Pakistan, but maybe world over, because the way the grading takes place, the way this program is structured, it's very geared towards class participation. It's very geared towards student participation. So you sort of feel motivated to study and go and participate in the class, engage with your peers. And that also, I think, helps build bonds between the students. So the network that you create at LUMS, it stays with you for a very long time. Along with that, it's not just the academic, but the holistic experience that you have of this MBA program. The experience that you have on campus, it's a very vibrant, campus life. Unfortunately, because of COVID right now, the campus is closed. But the campus life, the different societies that are at LUMS, They add, a lot of value to the experience as a student. And I think all of this helps in self-development. Um, so if I take my example, MBA is usually not the degree that you pursue prior to your PhD. Very few MBAs go and pursue a PhD, but it was the MBA program which actually helped me realize what my strengths and weaknesses are, where I'd fit better as a career, what is the kind of career that I'll enjoy more. I think MBA played a very important role in me understanding that, even although right now I'm not working in a corporate, although I did work for a couple of years in a corporate after my MBA. But I think it helped me realize where my career ambitions lie, where I want to pursue my career. I credit MBA for all of this, realization of what will help me fulfill my career. As far as my second point that I'd like to emphasize over here is that we are very focused on what's current in terms of the business world. So right now this program is, it's, we are shifting it towards being data driven. We have courses like I teach business intelligence, where we utilize data sets to perform analysis. Students are exposed to the ideas of, let's say, machine learning and machine learning models and how they can be utilized for data analytics. They are also exposed to ideas like blockchain. They're also exposed to technologies like, let's say, Python, which are very hot these days and people are utilizing them. Relational databases, overall, how systems are deployed in organizations. Because there are huge disruptions that are taking place in businesses right now because of technology. So there's also this focus towards technology and what's currently happening in the business world, where this program focuses.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Osama. And I'll come back to you with more questions with regards to the class participation aspect of our MBA teaching. But Dr. Fazal, आपके पास आने से पहले एक question हमारे पास आया community से. Saifullah Khan is asking, I really want to come to LUMS for an MBA, but I do not have 2-year job experience. Please guide me if I'll be accepted. तो मैं इस question का answer मैं खुद ही दे देता हूँ. Saif, it is a full-time program, and you can apply with less than 2 years of work experience as well. But experience is actually preferred, but it is not mandatory to apply for this program. तो आपको I'd suggest कि आप अपनी जो application है उसको जरूर start कर लें. Start exploring your options within SDSB as well. लेकिन आप अपनी application को जरूर start कर लें. और I'm pretty sure कि जब आप fill in करना start करेंगे अपनी application को, आपको clarity भी मिलती जाएगी with regards to what you should be writing in it. Dr. Fazal, मैं आपके पास आता हूँ अब. How effective do you think has online teaching been in the teaching of MBA courses, especially when we are talking about COVID-19 times?
Well, online teaching has been difficult both for students and faculty. Being present at LUMS and experiencing the whole thing, there's no, you cannot replicate that online. But we, over the year, since we started in March last year, there have been significant learning that has taken place. And we've been able to, the technology has been supportive. We have the support of the technology. And also then we have adapted to the new environment and been able to engage students, obviously not the same way as we were able to do in person. We miss students, and I'm sure students miss the experience of coming to LUMS. But other than that, I think there has been a significant advancement in our understanding and using the technology to deliver, sort of replicate the experience in person to some extent.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Fazal. Before I go back to Dr. Zahur with another question, there's a question that we have got from our community. Bakar Lashari asks, can I do MBA after BA Part 2? So Bakar, with regards to the academic requirement that we have set for to be eligible to get into the program, you need to make sure that you have 16 years of education from an HEC recognized institution. So BA Part 2 jo hai, if you think it's 16 years of education, then you can apply. But in my opinion, it would be 14 years of education. So with 14 years, you won't be able to, but if you have 16 years of education, then you must start filling in the application. डॉक्टर ज़हूर, आपके पास आता हूँ. अक्सर हमसे पूछते हैं जब हम कहीं पे बाहर भी किसी अपने मार्केटिंग इवेंट पे होते हैं कि who is an ideal candidate for the LUMS MBA program? हम क्या देखते हैं एक MBA applicant के अंदर?
जी, थैंक यू फॉर दैट क्वेश्चन. देखिए, MBA program is primarily for those people who want to do something significant. It's not a me-too program. अगर आप जिंदगी में कुछ करना चाहते हैं, कुछ बनना चाहते हैं, कुछ इम्पैक्ट क्रिएट करना चाहते हैं, तो ये प्रोग्राम आपके लिए. तो उसमें ज़ाहिर है हम कई चीज़ें देखते हैं. एक तो आपकी एकेडमिक प्रिपरेशन, कि अभी तक जो कुछ आपने पढ़ा है वो कितना अच्छा पढ़ा है, उससे क्या सीखा है, और वो हमें एक आइडिया देता है आपके पोटेंशियल का. फिर अगर आपने काम किया है तो क्या काम किया है, उससे आपने क्या सीखा है, और वो एस्पेक्ट है. फिर ऑफ कोर्स कुछ इंडिपेंडेंट असेसमेंट्स हैं, जैसे जीमैट है, टेस्ट रिक्वायरमेंट्स हैं. वो हमें आपको एक इंटरनेशनल रेफरेंस पॉइंट पे ले आता है कि जी हाउ डू यू कंपेयर विद पीपल, क्योंकि हमारा सारा जो ऑब्जेक्टिव है कि आपको उस लेवल पे डेवलप किया जाए कि आप दुनिया में कहीं भी काम कर सकें. ये बड़ा एक इम्पॉर्टेंट डिस्टिंक्शन है हमारे और बाकी इस मुल्क के. तो हम अपने ग्रेजुएट्स को इस मुल्क की मार्केट के लिए सिर्फ तैयार नहीं कर रहे. They should have the ability, the skills, the attitudes and the approach to compete anywhere in the world. And maybe with the top, or depend करता है कि आपका पहले preparation क्या है, but best of our people can compete with the people from the top institutions, and they have done that in the past. तो उसके लिए अगर मैं सिंपल लफ्ज़ों में कहूँ तो थोड़ा दमखम चाहिए आपको, एक हिम्मत चाहिए, हौसला चाहिए, और वो हम असेस करने की कोशिश करते हैं. तो अगर आप में काम करने का जज्बा है, कुछ बनने का जज्बा है, और आपकी तैयारी भी है कि आप इन 2 साल में कुछ फ़ायदा उठा सकते हैं, तो फिर आपके लिए चांसेस हैं. लेकिन ज़ाहिर है आपको कुछ ना कुछ हमें बताना पड़ेगा अबाउट योर बैकग्राउंड टू कन्विंस अस कि you have what it takes. So it is not for the faint-hearted. It's not for the people who just want to get a piece of paper and say कि जी मैंने MBA कर लिया है. It's for those people who really want to जिसे कहते हैं create an impact. हम एक लफ्ज़ यूज़ किया करते थे, बहुत ज़्यादा आजकल नहीं यूज़ कर रहे, but I will still like to repeat that कि we are in the business of developing people who will change things, who will in a positive way. Not वो change का लफ्ज़ आजकल काफ़ी तरह तबाह हो गया, बर्बाद हो गया. तो उस कॉन्टेक्स्ट में नहीं, इस कॉन्टेक्स्ट में कि हम वाकई अपने अपने माहौल में जहाँ जहाँ हम जाएंगे वहाँ पे हमारी कोई सिग्निफिकेंट कंट्रीब्यूशन होगी. पीपल वांट टू कंट्रीब्यूट, मे बी दैट्स अ बेटर वे ऑफ सेइंग. तो अगर आप में वो है सारी चीज़ें, इसमें ज़रूरी नहीं कि आपका एकेडमिक बैकग्राउंड स्टेलर हो सकता है आपने किसी और चीज़ में एक्सेल किया हो जो हमें ये कॉन्फिडेंस दे दे कि इस बंदे में ये चीज़ें हैं. तो इट्स नॉट ओनली द एकेडमिक अचीवमेंट्स, इट्स ऑल्सो द एक्सपीरियंस. लेकिन जो कुछ आपको मौका मिला है उससे आपने कैसे इस्तेफादा उठाया है, उससे क्या चीज़ हासिल की है, ये हम चीज़ देख रहे हैं. I don't know whether Dr. would like to add anything to that. But
Dr. Fazil?
No, I think Dr. Zahoor has rightly pointed out. I think curiosity is something, perseverance is another. As Dr. Osama said, it's a very rigorous program. It's a very engaging program. I've been teaching Amar for the past 39 years. Of the 9 years have been at LUMS. And I've taught in the US, Middle East. I think this program is very rigorous, very engaging, and very relevant. Obviously, the case method makes it very distinct program. So curiosity is needed, perseverance. I mean, people who give up easy, I think this program is not for those people.
Yeah.
People who have the tenacity, willingness to learn new things, willingness to, significant part of our methodology is active engagement of students. So student is at the center of learning. I mean, if they're willing to learn, I think it's a wonderful opportunity.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Fazil, Dr. Zahoor. जैसे Dr. Zahoor आपने rightly pointed out बिल्कुल कि, और मैं अक्सर अपने SDSP के खास तौर से सेशंस में कहता भी हूँ कि we take a very holistic approach when we're evaluating your application. So it's not just कि अगर आपने एक जगह पे perform नहीं किया, but you think that you have covered up for it in another area, in another domain. So maybe that could be a plus point for your candidature. So please bear this in mind as well. And इस वक्त मेरे पास एक question है हसन से, and it's very relevant to what we have just discussed. Hassan asks, can a work experience of more than 7 years with some gaps in the career trajectory adversely impact the prospects of getting admitted to a LUMS regular MBA program? So Dr. Zahoor, Hassan के लिए आपको क्या लगता है कौन सा program ठीक होगा? Would it be the executive MBA program more suitable for him or this one?
It depends करता है ना आपके objectives. So he's sort of right at the edge. So हम executive में I think there's a minimum work experience requirement which he'd probably meet. देखिए MBA, executive MBA और masters में ना बहुत फर्क है. And one needs to understand this. And given that this is coming at the end, maybe it's time to sort of talk about that. MBA is a full immersion program. यहाँ पे आप टोटल ट्रांसफॉर्म होने की अपॉर्चुनिटी आपको मिलती है. जैसे डॉक्टर फजल ने कहा, अगर आप उस ख्याल से आए हैं, पीपल हैव चेंज देयर वर्ल्ड व्यू, चेंज देयर करियर ऑब्जेक्टिव्स बेस्ड ऑन द एक्सपीरियंस. एग्जेक्टिव एमबीए में होता है कि यू आर ऑलरेडी ऑन अ करियर पाथ एंड यू वांट टू नाउ टेक अ डिफरेंट सॉर्ट ऑफ स्टेप अहेड, और वो आप एक क्लैरिटी के साथ आते हैं इन मोस्ट ऑफ द केसेस इन द एग्जेक्टिव एमबीए, और यू हैव रीच अ प्लेटो एंड यू वांट टू री-इनविगोरेट योर करियर. लेकिन आपके पास एक सॉलिड ट्रैक रिकॉर्ड होता है व्हेन यू कम टू एन एग्जेक्टिव एमबीए. एमबीए में ये है कि आपका एक एकेडमिक प्रिपरेशन है, यू हैव सम एक्सपोजर टू द रियल वर्ल्ड, एंड नाउ यू आर आउट देयर टू रियली डिस्कवर कि आप क्या कर सकते हैं, प्रिपेयर योरसेल्फ फॉर अ लॉन्गर करियर. बाकी मास्टर्स प्रोग्राम है वो ज़्यादा नैरोली फोकस्ड हैं एंड दे आर लिटिल अर्ली इन द डे, तो मैं उनके बारे में कुछ ज़्यादा नहीं कहूँगा. लेकिन एमबीए इंटरनेशनली अगर आप देखें तो इज अ ट्रांसफॉर्मेटिव एक्सपीरियंस. अच्छी यूनिवर्सिटी से अगर आप एमबीए करेंगे, इट चेंजेस योर वर्ल्ड. आपका दोस्त भी आपको अगर मिलेगा 6 महीने बाद, 3 महीने बाद, once you're in an MBA program, so they'll notice something different in terms of how you talk, how you engage with people, how you look at things. तो ये this is the nature. तो मैं तो लोगों को कहता हूँ who can afford to spare 2 years and have that commitment and that curiosity which Dr. Fazal was talking about, MBA is the thing to do. Of course, अगर आपका एक कैरियर में वो स्टेज आ गई है कि you cannot take 2 years off, your family situation ऐसी है, तो then executive MBA. और मास्टर्स इज एंड यू आर वेरी क्लियर कि आपने क्या करना है, एक फोकस प्रोग्राम है, आप एक ज़्यादा फोकस एक छोटी डिग्री लेना चाहते हैं, तो वो फ्लेवर इन दैट सेंस. बट इफ यू वांट टू हैव द रियल बेनिफिट ऑफ द लम्स एक्सपीरियंस, देन द एमबीए प्रोग्राम इज द वन दैट यू शुड फोकस ऑन.
थैंक यू डॉक्टर ज़हूर. एंड ऑन अ लाइटर नोट मैं यहाँ पे एक बात भी कह दूँ डॉक्टर ज़हूर की बात से कि डॉक्टर ज़हूर ने कहा कि 6 महीने बाद जब आपके दोस्त भी आपको मिलेगा, तो डॉक्टर सामा आपके पास फौरन से आ जाता हूँ. 6 महीने के बाद मिलते हैं आप दोस्तों से या लम्स ही के अंदर होके रह जाते हैं? क्योंकि मैंने काफी पर्सनल एक्सपीरियंस से लोगों के सुने हैं कि and as you have mentioned as well, it is a rigorous program and that is what is unique about it as well and that is what is needed as well. तो फिर कैसा होता है उस वक्त MBA प्रोग्राम?
वेल आपकी बात सही है. 6 महीने तो नहीं, अलबत्ता जब 2 साल कंप्लीट हो जाते हैं एंड यू हैव कंप्लीटेड योर प्रोग्राम, देन यू स्टार्ट मीटिंग योर फ्रेंड्स अगेन. और वो आई थिंक दे स्टार्ट सीइंग द चेंज इन यू, पर्सनालिटी के अंदर जो आपकी आती हैं. और आई थिंक दैट्स व्हाई जो डॉक्टर ज़हूर ने बात की थी एंड डॉक्टर जवाद आल्सो टॉक्ड, इट्स वेरी इमर्सिव एंड इट्स ट्रांसफॉर्मेटिव कि जो आपका एक्सपीरियंस होता है लम्स का, यू नो द क्लास का जो आपका एक्सपीरियंस होता है स्टडीइंग थ्रू केस मेथड, वो आप शेयर भी फिर उन्हीं लोगों के साथ कर सकते हैं who have been in that experience with you. It's very hard to explain it to someone who has not been through that experience कि you know what it's all about, क्या था जो आपने किया, क्या था जो आपने सीखा. You know some things are, you know, you can only experience them. It's hard to put them to words. And I think case method का शायद ये है थोड़ा सा कि उसकी इफादियत को समझाना. मैं भी when after my MBA I had my colleagues, you know, I worked in a multinational and my relatives, and a lot of them would ask, because there's a lot of curiosity because LUMS MBA has such a brand name in Pakistan. क्या सीखा आपने वहाँ पे? You know, it's hard to put to words sometimes कि आपने क्या सीखा, but it's your students who, your friends who were with you, who sort of understand and realize कि वो क्या था which you all went through together. You know, you can share and understand and talk that common language. I think एक इसमें चीज जो I would like to you know mention here is कि as a student I've been to, Pakistan. Maybe I did my undergrad, MBA. I went abroad for my MBA, for my PhD my university in US was one of the top 50 in MBA. They had one of the top 50 MBA programs. It was FT 100 ke MBA mein the wo bhi. But very few universities offer case method teaching. You would have maybe a dozen or so in North America, very few in Europe, in Pakistan. So this, when we say that this is a program which is very unique, there's no exaggeration in this, because this sort of a program is very hard to even find abroad anywhere. Quiz method बहुत कम universities कराती हैं, और उसका जो फिर एक sort of by product ये है कि it's very immersive, it's very engaging as a student, because you participate in class and you engage with your fellow students, you engage with your faculty, आपकी बहुत close engagement होती है उनके साथ. And I think Dr. Zuhur has very rightly pointed out that, more than just a degree program, this is about you having the ability to change your worldview for the better, if you are willing to do that. And that's why probably young age, it's better program ko karo, because then at that time you are at such age, because you would be able to transform yourself and change your worldview about things. Not just your worldview, mere to khayal mein apne self introspection bhi thodi si, and understand who you are. So these are the things that make this program very unique, and that's, I think, what changes inside you, and probably people around you also start to feel once you interact with them after your MBA.
बिल्कुल सही है, बिल्कुल सही डॉक्टर उसामा, थैंक यू. डॉक्टर फजल, आपके पास आने से पहले एक क्वेश्चन है from Mr. Imran Ayub. Imran asked, sir, how can we get 50% off in the MBA program, as his friend was suggesting that if you score a certain percentage in your GAT exam, then you get a 50% off. Imran, that is true that you, on the basis of your performance in the in a prerequisite testing requirement, we do give you 50% tuition fee waiver, but that is for the applicants who come up who are appearing for GMAT or GRE. So if you have scored 700 or higher in GMAT and you are accepted at LUMS, then you will definitely get a 50% tuition fee waiver. And for GRE, आपको उसी 700 का जो है conversion चाहिए होगा, which is available on our website as well. तो पूरा table हमारी website पे available है. I'd suggest कि अगर if you're looking at that, तो फिर आप GMAT या GRE को देने के लिए plan करें. Dr. Fazal, मैं आपके पास आता हूँ. One of the biggest achievements that, and we are very very proud of it, कि हमने AACSB accreditation जो है वो STSB ने ली. हम जब अपनी marketing presentations के लिए भी जाते हैं, outreach के लिए भी जाते हैं different schools across the country, मैं खुद भी जाता हूँ, हम इस बारे में बात करते हैं कि हमने AACSB accreditation लेने वाले पाकिस्तान में सिर्फ एक business school है, वो LUMS है, STSB है, और दुनिया में भी बहुत कम few more than 800 business schools हैं. तो मैं आपसे ये जानना चाहता हूँ कि अगर आप प्लीज एक्सप्लेन कर दें हमारी ऑडियंस के लिए, मेरे बेनिफिट के लिए भी, कि ये AACSB accreditation का असल मतलब है क्या, और इसका हमारे पास होने से पाकिस्तान में लम्स को और वैसे पाकिस्तान एज अ कंट्री क्या बेनिफिट है हमें?
Okay, Amar, it's obviously it's long. It took us about 7 years. It took us it took us longer than normal, and the reason was the mentors and the deans were unwilling to come to Pakistan because of security reasons. इसके मैं दो elements को emphasize करूँगा. एक तो है self evaluation. Every accreditation has two elements. One is self-assessment evaluation, where you look at yourself against quality standards. AACSB, which is the premier accreditation body of business schools, when we were accredited, it had 15 standards against which we were evaluated. So before we invite a team to, which comprises of peer review team comprises of deans of different schools, तो उससे पहले, you go through self-assessment against those 15 standards. And standards relate to, from what kind of students you are admitting, what kind of faculty you have, what are the resources that are available to you, what are the processes in place, what are the programs in place. And at the tail end, where are the students being placed? What impact are you creating? And the underlying theme of AACSP and most accreditation is continuous improvement. I don't look at accreditation as a destination, it's a journey. So you go through this exercise and you are on the path of continuous improvement. So you're looking at it. So as far as STSP is concerned, I think the introspection, the self-assessment was very critical for us. I mean, STSP has been doing good things for many years. Many of the processes that we were doing were informal. AACSB accreditation, and likewise, the national accreditation, NBAC, it forces you to make those processes formal. And I think that was one of the big changes that we had to undergo. And again, the three pillars of AACSP accreditation are engagement, engaging with students, engaging with community, engaging with industry, and then creating an impact. And that was really consistent with our STSP mission of making a difference, making an impact in the industry through knowledge generation. And the third element, the third pillar of AACSP is innovation. That is continuous process of renewal. So this process was very useful for STSP in looking at itself and then identifying areas which we can improve on. The second part of the accreditation process, Amar, was when the external validation. In the end, it's external validation of quality. We had a peer review team comprising 3 deans of European origins who visited us, spent 2.5 days with us, and assessed whether our processes are in line with the quality standards of AACSP. And I think they were, at the end of the visit, they were commending STSP for being a benchmark institution in business education in Pakistan, and a lot of positive things. Interface with the industry is a hallmark of STSP. And I think the relationship with the alumni, all those factors, when they come, the peer review team comes to a school, they not only talk to the administrators and the faculty, they talk to the key stakeholders. So they would have meetings with the alumni, they would have meetings with the industry people to see what sort of impact are we creating. And in their final report, they recognize that we see visible, significant impact that STSP is creating in the business world of Pakistan. And I think that was, so it's a validation of quality education in the end, but it's a process. And I think we are proud of achieving this. And we are also, we would like other schools in Pakistan also to join this rank. And I think I and my colleagues are working and helping some other institutions as well.
As what is expected of and people in Pakistan who are thinking good about the country, who want the country to progress. Thank you, Dr. Fazal. Dr. Zahoor, मैं आपके पास आता हूँ कि now that we have achieved the AACSB accreditation, first, what's next for STSB, and then what exchange opportunities do we have at the MBA level?
As I think Dr. Fazal mentioned also, that it is the process. So when you get an accreditation, it primarily gives you the confidence that, okay, you have reached a certain reference point and you have the process in place to keep on improving. Now the challenge is that you have to keep on improving. So when you get into this accreditation process, when they come back after 4 or 5 years, they expect the institution to have moved on to the next level. So I think as far as we are concerned, we have to keep doing the thing that we are doing in a better way and keep taking more initiatives and introduce new dimensions in our programs and be more impactful, be more engaged and more innovative, all those 3 things that Dr. Fazal also mentioned. The second part that you talked about, what was the second thing that you want me to talk about?
Exchange opportunities that we offer.
Yeah, exchange is also an integral part of what we are trying to do here, because when you are in a world which is so connected, you need to make sure that you have the opportunity to learn from others and engage with institutions outside your own country's borders. So right from the beginning, actually, we had focused on providing the opportunity to our students to have this worldview. And we introduced this in a number of ways. We brought in some senior professors to spend time with our students as visiting professors. So that was how we started. We also had a number of small time exchanges with students. But I think starting in late 90s, we set up exchange arrangements with well-established, well-reputed institutions from around the world. These institutions are from, we had active institutions till the recent political issues with India. I mean, top institutions in India, IIM Bangalore and ISP, institutions in Australia, institutions in China, institutions in Europe. And the idea here is that the students should get an opportunity to spend one term at these institutions. So they gain a number of things. Of course, they get to understand a different culture, a different context, and understand how business is done there. But it's also important to realize that when they come back for the final term here, they're brought in those ideas, and their engagement with the rest of the class helps those ideas to be sort of shared and leveraged by others also. So I don't know the exact numbers, but at one time, almost 1/3 of our students were going abroad for exchange to almost 8-9 institutions. The last couple of years have been difficult for a number of reasons, especially this last year. But this is an important part of our sort of design of the program. We use material from other parts of the world. We try to bring in faculty whenever it's feasible, and of course, provide an opportunity. Unfortunately, the conditions in Pakistan have not been favorable to enable people from other countries to come. So it has always been a challenge to have a one-way exchange. It's not exactly an exchange in that sense. Our students go and their students cannot come. But we have tried to sort of keep this thing going, even in these difficult circumstances.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Zahoor, for letting us know about the exchange opportunities that we have at the MBA level. And if I'm not wrong, and if I am, please do correct me. अगर एक बच्चा exchange program पे जाता है तो इसका मतलब ये है कि then he will only be paying for the airfare and the lodging facilities that he will be using there, but additional extra payment for that university's semester वो नहीं करना पड़ेगा. Am I right?
The way the exchange arrangement generally work is that the institutions pay the tuition at their parent institution, and any incidental or incremental expenses like stay and food and travel, of course. But it does add up. I must say this, that those who go on exchange need to have some additional resources available. Those students in the past who have been on full scholarship and didn't have the resources, in a few cases, I think we were able to arrange special funding to enable those students to go on exchange also. I don't know the current situation right now. But if a student, and it's a competitive process, because almost everybody wants to go, and there are limited slots. So if there's a well-qualified student who wants to go to a certain place and they are short of resources, I think they can still send in a request and an appeal to the dean, and there should be some process. At least that's the spirit of LUMS, that you should not be prevented from leveraging an opportunity just because you don't have the money. I think that has been the philosophy of LUMS from day one.
Exactly. बिल्कुल सही है. जी, Dr. Fazal.
I would like to add, I think being accredited, I think we have now more possibilities of expanding our linkages, because there are many schools who will only collaborate or have established linkages with accredited schools. Unfortunately, after the accreditation, COVID has been, we've not been able to expand this list of linkages. And I think in future, once situation returns to normal, I think we will be able to expand our linkages much more than we were able to do before because of the accreditation.
Exactly, बिल्कुल Dr. Fazal, आपने बिल्कुल सही बात की है कि और ये मैं अब I'm going to use it for my marketing presentations as well, कि there are certain schools वो सिर्फ accredited business schools के साथ exchange program करना ही को पसंद करते हैं, और I was a part of a
But
few.
I must say this, that we are able to get accredited institutions to work with us even when we are not accredited. So now it should be much better.
That's the strength of LUMS. That's the strength of SDSB. We're proud of that. And just now Dr. Fazil कह रहे थे exchange programs के बारे में. I was a part of a few arrangements as well जहाँ पे हम exchange program establish करने की कोशिश कर रहे थे. But then again, we are now faced with the situation of COVID-19. But inshallah, when the situation settles, we will be having many different exchange partnerships with universities across the globe, inshallah. And now I have a question from our community. Will the non-business background affect the application? So Dr. Osama, आपकी तरफ ये route कर रहा हूँ question. आप इस बारे में please answer करें इसको.
Gee, sure. I myself did not have a business background. I had a background in computer science, but I had no problems whatsoever in my MBA. In fact, I think MBA was very useful for me, particularly because the skills that I learned in my undergrad were totally different from the skills that I learned in my MBA, which was related to business. And in fact, if I am not mistaken, in my batch, in my class, the majority of the students had an engineering or a computer science background. So I don't think there is any disadvantage in not having a business background when applying to LUMS MBA. In fact, I think majority of the class comprises of people who don't have a business background, engineering, computer science, or any other background like this.
And if you ask me, I mean, given my more than 3 decades of experience, it's better not to have the business background.
I think that is a strength of our MBA program, the diversity. People coming when a case is being discussed, different perspectives are coming because of the different backgrounds, and so that's important. If you had all students with a business background, then you would get many of the perspectives that are covered and addressed in our class discussions.
Exactly, it is a very practical program with applications in all the industries. आप किसी भी बैकग्राउंड से हो, कंप्यूटर साइंस से हो, एजुकेशन से हो, इंजीनियरिंग से हो, MBA करना basically equips you with so much more, especially आपको मैनेजर बनाने के लिए. और डॉक्टर फजल, मैं आपके पास ये चीज डिस्कस करना भी चाह रहा था आपसे कि how is a manager made? एक अच्छे मैनेजर की कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स होते क्या हैं?
Yeah. And again, managers, they are decision makers. So what we do through the case method is expose them to a variety of contextual situations where the protagonist of the case has to make a decision. So, managers are decision makers. So I think they get a lot of exposure in a variety of situations where the decisions, marketing, management, finance cases. And most of this is integrative. I mean, it's not looking at one perspective because a manager is looking at multiple perspectives. This is the beauty of the case method, which exposes you to multiple perspectives in deciding. It's not a uni perspective, one side perspective. So I think managers, make decisions, and we help them. And to make decisions, obviously, you have to identify the problem clearly, structure it properly in order to analyze it properly in order to make a proper decision. And I think our case method really does a good job of that.
I think this is probably the best explanation that I could get. A manager is a decision maker. The business world is very complex. Things change very quickly, especially with the integration of data, especially with the integration of technology, and that keeps happening every day. And the decision making is also getting more complex every day. And for that, LUMS Business School, LUMS MBA program teaches you कि आपने किस तरह से quickly sound decision making करनी है. Now I have a question from Imran. Imran asks, sir, is there any age limit, or if there are some gaps between BBA and MBA, applying for MBA, then does it create issues for the applicants? Dr. Zahoor, क्या एज लिमिट है हमारे पास? हमने कोई एज लिमिट रखी हुई है इसके लिए?
We have had people well into their 40s come and do the program. Ideally, अगर आप मुझसे पूछें तो late 20s, early 30s is not an issue at all. It depends on the individual. So there is effectively no age limit. I mean, you can be 60 and still come to the MBA program if you can spare 2 years and you have that energy and that curiosity. I don't think we have had a 60-year-old, but I do recall a number of people well into their 40s who have come to our.
ये इस तरह का question हमें मुझे याद है कि last year when I was doing I was hosting a webcast for PhD management, तो हमें इस तरह का एक question आया था और मुझे जो program director उन्होंने आंसर किया था anybody less than 100 years old. तो हमने कहा कि ठीक है ये अच्छा benchmark है.
No, I will not even put that limit.
मेरे ख्याल आप सही कह रहे हैं, उन्होंने भी शायद ये बाद में क्लैरिफाई कर दिया था कि उसके बाद भी आ सकते हैं if you have that rigor in you. तो अगला क्वेश्चन है, what type of practical skills will this program add to my portfolio? डॉक्टर ज़हूर, आप काइंडली इसको एड्रेस कीजिए.
देखें, इसमें स्किल जैसे डॉक्टर फजल ने कहा कि one of the key requirements for success, especially in a management role, is the ability to make decisions, and also to make these decisions in such a way that you don't have complete information and you have situations which is very complex and big. और हमारा जो केस मेथड है, इसमें you are making those calls all the time. You are making those calls multiple times in the same class. So when you have been doing this for 2 years, then making a call, making a decision in the absence of incomplete information is not second nature हो जाता है आपके लिए. So you don't first too much about actually or hesitate to take a decision or take a position. And of course, the second thing which this program does is that as it has the advantage of focusing on a case and the experience of so many people in the class. So different people will bring in their own experiences. So you are benefiting from the experience of the other people. So ये तो एक है. But in the last few years, we have added another dimension. We have added a lot of experiential dimension. So your engagement with the real world starts effectively from day one. Actually, from the last 3-4 years, हम ये कर रहे हैं, as soon as you come for the orientation, and I do this short module, I send it out all the students to engage with the micro enterprises. So you try to understand how a ready wala, small shopkeeper runs their business. And you try to engage with them, try to collect information from them. And first of all, try to convince them that they should at least talk to you and give you the information. So you start. And then from there, it continues throughout the 2 years. So you do the experiential learning part 1, where you are now involved with more established organizations and try to address their issues. Then you work on entrepreneurial project, where you are looking at a need or as a potential opportunity, and then you try to come up with something which will address that. And for this, you need to do a market survey. You need to engage with the marketplace. And then the internship gives you real experience. Second year, you have a significant project where, as a part of a group for 8 weeks, you are actually placed in that company to address a real issue of that company. So you are now talking to all the managers, all the senior executives in that company, their customers and relevant stakeholders. So the program sort of keeps you engaged with the real world, and not only gives you the theoretical basis to understand what's happening, but also gives you the opportunity to apply that. So I think that's again one of our key distinguishing features. That it's not only the classroom, which was the focus of our MBA, but also we push the students out to the real world. So I think that's another part that we try to do.
Okay, बिल्कुल ठीक बात है. मैं जहाँ पे ऑडियंस को अपने जो एप्लीकेंट्स हैं उनको रिमाइंड एक दफ़ा करा दूँ कि जो टेस्टिंग रिक्वायरमेंट हमने सेट की है फॉर आवर MBA प्रोग्राम इसके 3 टेस्ट हैं जिनमें से आप कोई भी एक दे सकते हैं. You could go for GMAT or you could go for GRE or GAT. It's up to you which one you want to go for. But the last day to make sure that you have the last day to have taken this exam by is 22nd March. तो आपने 22nd March तक make sure करना है कि आपने इनमें से जो भी एग्जाम आपने select किया है you have prepared for it. और जो last day for your online application है is 25th March. तो 25th March के बाद जो है application portal close हो जाएगा for MBA. तो please make sure, मैं आपको फिर suggest करता हूँ, it's already 8th of January. Start filling in your application or start thinking in terms of what you're going to write in your personal statement. और उसके बाद आपका फिर interview भी होगा. So whatever you're going to write, our panel will be able to judge that how well does it resonate with your personality and what you're trying to communicate to them in the interview. अच्छा, अब इसके साथ में आपको ये भी inform कर दूं कि
may I add one thing here, Amar, may I add one thing? It is very important to get into the process. क्योंकि a lot of people hesitate to get into the process. They are not sure about it. So it's very important that you at least open up your account and get into the process by the deadline. क्योंकि रिजल्ट आपका हो सकता है GMAT का तो साथ ही आ जाता है, GRE का कुछ देर के बाद आ जाता है. Some of the other thing may come a little later. So you need to get into the process. और उसमें अगर at least I can offer this, anybody has any query, so I am personally available, zahoor@lums.edu.pk. So if you send me a query, I'll be very happy to respond.
बिल्कुल, ये ईमेल एड्रेस जो है ये मैं दोबारा से रिपीट भी कर देता हूँ, zahoor@lums.edu.pk. So you can directly get into contact with Dr. Zahoor if you have any confusion, any query that you have, anything else जिसको आपको जो एक hindrance बनी हुई है आपके लिए to apply to this program, आप Dr. Zahoor से directly भी contact कर सकते हैं. मैं आपको साथ ये भी बता दूं कि SDSB is probably the only or maybe one of the very few schools in the whole world जहाँ पे हम ग्रेजुएट प्रोग्राम्स में जो women कैंडिडेट जो हमारे एडमिटेड होती हैं, एक्सेप्ट होती हैं, उनको we are offering 50% scholarship. So that would mean कि आपकी जो fee है for all the women candidates who are getting accepted वो half हो जाती है. So this is one merit scholarship का I've already explained कि आपके पास अगर आपने GMAT में 700 से ज़्यादा स्कोर किया है and if you are accepted at LUMS STSB MBA program, तो आपका जो है फिर merit scholarship के लिए भी आप qualify कर जाते हैं. In addition to that, there is also a MCB student personal loan as well. So if you want to have your degree financed or a part of it financed, then you could also secure that, and you can do that on very favorable terms as well. So वो आपको loan मिल जाएगा, and आपकी degree completion के 6 months after you will have to start repaying it in installments as well. So yes, so there are multiple ways that you can get this degree financed. और एक हमारे पास मेरिट स्कॉलरशिप जो है वो रैंकिंग बेस्ड भी होता है, बट ऑल ऑफ दिस इंफॉर्मेशन इज अवेलेबल ऑन आवर वेबसाइट एज वेल. ओके, मैं डॉक्टर उसामा आपके पास आता हूँ. वी वर डिस्कसिंग अबाउट यू टीचिंग एनालिटिक्स, और कि SDSB जो है predominantly focuses on using the case based method of teaching. तो डेटा एनालिटिक्स वगैरह जब हम पढ़ाते हैं तो वो किस तरीके से उसको हम जो है इम्पार्ट करते हैं, उसका नॉलेज किस तरह से इम्पार्ट करते हैं? क्या वो भी केस बेस्ड मेथड ही होता है या उसमें प्रैक्टिकल भी चीजें इन्वॉल्व होती हैं, सिमुलेशंस इन्वॉल्व होती हैं उसके अंदर?
Well, that's a very good question, because that's something I think जो not just here at SDSB, but I think globally people are working this out के analytics को किस तरह उन्होंने impart करना है. तो if I can talk about my courses, I teach both at undergrad and at MBA. So I keep a mix. So there are labs जिसके अंदर we work with tools. और ये लैब काफी सारे मल्टीपल कोर्सेज में होती हैं where they use tools like SPSS, let's say, for statistics, and in my course we use Python. तो इनके लिए there are labs where they learn about the tool, और फिर उसके बाद we then have case studies जहाँ पे we have data sets, और उन analysis of the data is not the real thing, but at the end of the day, I mean, you can learn the tools and the techniques and you can then analyze the data, but it's the insights that you draw from that data, inferences that you draw, and then उसके बेस के ऊपर आप क्या managerial decision लेने लगे हैं. Because एक चीज जो data driven अब बहुत ज़्यादा term use हो रही है वो है data driven decision making, and this is what data driven decision making is. So there's one process जहाँ पे you use a particular tool, you use Python, you use Power BI, you use SPSS, these tools to analyze data, store data, clean data. उसके ऊपर आप कोई regression या कोई analysis, कोई statistical analysis करते हैं. And then there is the sort of insight part based off of that analysis. और वो वहाँ पे then you have case method where you have data set. That data is, analysis will tell you something, but two different individuals might draw different conclusions out of that. और वहाँ पे then there's this element of debate. So I think वहाँ पे ये mix, we continue to do this mix and match. Case method is a great fit with analytics as well, and we focus on the form जहाँ पे आप technique और tools learn करते हैं, and then there's also the decision making process जहाँ पे case method.
बिल्कुल सही डॉक्टर उसामा, थैंक यू सो मच. ये क्लैरिटी मुझे भी चाहिए थी, आई एम श्योर हमारी ऑडियंस को भी चाहिए थी. लास्ट क्वेश्चन है मेरे पास, एंड I'd like अगर हम इसको 1 minute में wrap up कर लें. Dr. Fazal, आपसे मैं ये पूछूंगा कि class participation इतना important क्यों है हमारे MBA program?
I think this is probably a very important distinctive part of our learning. It's engaging student in the process. देखिए, learning, staying on the sidelines. तो मैं तो जब क्लास में जाता हूँ तो I usually quote a Chinese proverb which goes something like this: tell me and I will forget, show me and I may remember, involve me and I will learn. And that really defines why CP is so class participation is so important in the learning process. So no, I think it's one of the most important parts of our process of engaging students, be it in the classroom, be it in the discussion room. I think that is a hallmark of our program.
So मैं फिर से ये reiterate करता हूँ ये point बिल्कुल के अगर आप LUMS MBA ज्वाइन करने का प्लान कर रहे हैं तो आप इसके लिए रेडी हो जाएं कि आपने बहुत ज्यादा पार्टिसिपेशन आपने अगर खुद नहीं करनी तो फिर आपसे करवा ली जाएगी. तो इसके साथ
if I may add, Amar, देखिए उसमें in the real world you have to take initiative, you have to communicate, you have to take positions, और उसके लिए बड़ा important है कि you are practiced. Otherwise अगर आप सारा वक्त किताबें पढ़ते रहें और आखिर में पेपर लिख दें तो that's not how the real world operates. So the classroom environment is very much like a meeting in an actual business organization where you have to engage. You don't have an option of not contributing. So I think in that sense, and that's one of the aspects which has been very well appreciated but I call it class contribution, not class participation, because you have to contribute to the class, not just talk for the sake of talking.
बिल्कुल ठीक बात है. You have to contribute to the class and also add to the richness of the overall discussion of the class. बिल्कुल. Thank you so much, Dr. Fazal, Dr. Zahoor, and Dr. Osama for being with us today for the benefit of our applicants. And I am sure कि जो हमारी effort है SDSB knowledge भी करने की, we actually try to help you in the decision-making process of yours. यहाँ पे आपने program को select करना है, but we actually wanted to give you a chance to interact with our faculty members as well and understand what the program for which the webcast was being done was about. So if there are any questions admissions related या खास तौर से जैसे Dr. Zahoor ने भी अभी आपको बताया है कि if there is anything MBA related, कोई program related, कोई आपका सवाल है, कोई confusion है, you can write to him for that, zahoor@lums.edu.pk. But if there is something that you want to talk about with regards to the admission process, the application process, कोई confusion आपके दिमाग में उस तरह से है, so please write to us at admissions@lums.edu.pk, or you can also use our social media pages for that purpose. And thank you very much. It has been such a pleasure.
एक add करना चाहूँ, if you're looking for a real life-changing experience and you are up to the challenge, then MBA program at LUMS is what you should be aiming for.
बिल्कुल सही बात है. और बिल्कुल the MBA program is the one फिर. So thank you so much, Dr. Zahoor. Once again, thank you to our panelists. Thank you to thanks to our viewers as well. And best of luck. We look forward to evaluating your application. And yeah.